Something strange happened to Sandra Bullock on a warm evening when the city felt louder than usual. She had walked through busy streets many times before, but that day felt different. The noise felt sharper, the lights felt brighter, and every small sound hit her mind like a heavy weight. She tried to stay calm, but inside her chest there was a pressure she could not explain. Something was breaking slowly, and she did not know how to stop it. She kept walking because she thought the feeling would go away, but every step made it worse. This was not the Sandra everyone knew. This was someone fighting a quiet storm alone. The turning point came when she entered the old metro station. The air inside was thick and heavy. People rushed past her, their voices mixing with train sounds and announcements. Sandra felt the world closing in. She tried to breathe normally, but her breath kept breaking. She looked around, searching for one calm moment, but everything around her felt too fast and too loud. She felt trapped inside her own mind. Her hands shook, her throat tightened, and for the first time in a long time she felt she was losing control of herself. This moment was supposed to be small, but it became the beginning of something much bigger. As she stood near a support pillar, her vision blurred. The ground felt unsteady, and the noise became a single loud wave. She wanted to call someone, but no words came out. She wanted to sit down, but her body froze. All she could do was stand there and hope the feeling would pass. But it did not. Her chest felt heavy, her heartbeat raced, and sweat formed on her forehead. She felt like the whole station was moving in circles around her. People looked at her confused, but no one came closer. Strangers saw the signs, but they moved on. Sandra felt more alone in a crowd than she had ever felt in her life. She did not know that someone was already watching her carefully from a short distance. Keanu Reeves stood near the ticket machines, waiting quietly for his train. He noticed the way Sandra held her hands, the way she struggled to breathe, and the fear hiding behind her eyes. He understood these signs because he had seen them before in many people who carried silent battles inside them. His instincts told him something was wrong. He did not rush toward her because he knew sudden movements might make things worse. Instead, he stepped slowly in her direction and stopped at a gentle distance. His presence was calm, steady, and quiet, like a protective barrier in the middle of chaos. Sandra did not notice him at first, but she felt something shift around her. The space near her suddenly felt softer, as if the noise had slightly lowered. She looked up and saw Keanu standing there with a peaceful expression on his face. His eyes were calm and warm. Not questioning, not judging, just quietly understanding. She tried to speak, but her voice trembled, so she looked away in embarrassment. She did not want anyone to see her like this, especially not someone she respected deeply. Keanu understood without hearing a single word. He stepped a little closer, but not too close, just enough to make her feel less alone. He spoke in a very soft tone, the kind of voice that makes the world slow down for a moment. He said, "Try to breathe slow, you are safe. I am right here." His words were simple, but they reached her like a lifeline. Sandra tried to follow his rhythm. She breathed in slowly, then out gently. The first few attempts failed, but Keanu stayed patient. He matched her breaths, showing her she did not have to rush. Little by little, her heart started calming down. The crowd kept moving, but inside the small space around them, everything felt different. Sandra felt the ground return under her feet. She felt her hands steady a little. The pressure inside her head began to ease. She did not fully recover, but she felt a tiny bit of control coming back. She looked at Keanu again, and this time her eyes held a quiet thank you. He nodded softly, letting her know she did not need to explain anything. He respected her silence. He respected her struggle. But something else was coming in the next few moments, something that neither of them saw yet. And this moment of calm was about to be tested in a way that would change both of their lives. The quiet moment between Sandra and Keanu did not last long. The station was still crowded, and people kept rushing in every direction. Sandra's breath had become steadier, but her legs still felt weak. She held the metal railing beside her, hoping the wave of panic would not return. Keanu stayed close but did not touch her. He wanted her to feel supported without feeling trapped. His calm presence kept her grounded for a moment, but the air around them was still tense, as if something dangerous was waiting just outside their vision. Then it happened. A sudden shout came from the opposite side of the platform. Sandra turned her head sharply, and fear rushed back into her eyes. A worker had dropped a heavy tool that slid across the floor and struck a loose steel barrier. The barrier shook violently, and before anyone could react, it started tipping toward the crowded walkway where Sandra was standing. It was falling fast, and she froze instantly. Her fear held her in place like invisible chains. She could not move, not even a single step. She watched the barrier falling with wide, terrified eyes. Keanu reacted before the crowd even understood what was happening. He faced the falling barrier and stepped forward with full force. He reached it at the exact second it was about to strike Sandra. He grabbed the edge with both hands and pushed his weight into it. The sound echoed loudly across the platform. People gasped and backed away. For a moment it looked like the barrier might overpower him, but he held it with everything he had. The metal scraped the ground and then finally settled back into place without hurting anyone. Sandra's breath caught in her throat. She had been seconds away from another shock her body could not handle. Keanu turned to her immediately, checking her with calm eyes. She looked at him, confused and overwhelmed. She could not believe he had stepped in so quickly, like protecting her was the most natural thing to do. He asked her gently, "Are you hurt?" She shook her head slowly. She was not hurt, but her mind was spinning. She did not know how to process what just happened. The people around them whispered and stared, but Keanu ignored the attention. He focused only on Sandra. She was trembling again, but this time it was not from panic. It was from the shock of being saved so suddenly. She tried to speak, but her voice broke. Keanu kept his voice low and steady. "You are all right. Nothing touched you, just breathe with me again." She followed his rhythm, slow in, slow out. Her breath matched his and slowly her body calmed again. But something had changed. This was not just fear anymore. This moment had opened something deeper inside Sandra. She felt exposed, not because of the crowd, but because someone had seen her at her weakest moment and still protected her without judgment. It made her chest tighten in a way that felt heavy but warm at the same time. She looked at Keanu with a mix of gratitude and confusion. She whispered, "I do not know why this is happening to me today." Her voice shook with emotion. She felt ashamed that she had broken down so easily. Keanu's answer was simple but powerful. "It happens to everyone. Nobody is made of stone. You're just tired and carrying too much inside." His tone was so sincere that Sandra almost cried again. She had spent years being strong for everyone around her. She helped people, comforted friends, and solved problems, but she never allowed herself to fall apart even once. Today, that mask had shattered, and Keanu saw the truth behind it. He guided her toward a quieter corner of the platform where there were fewer people. The lights were softer there, and the noise felt less sharp. Sandra leaned against the wall and closed her eyes for a moment. She could still feel her body shaking lightly. Keanu stayed beside her without saying anything. His silence was not heavy, it was comforting. It told her she did not have to explain her pain to earn his respect. After a long moment, Sandra opened her eyes and whispered, "I thought I could handle everything. I thought I was strong enough." Keanu looked at her with complete respect. "You are strong," he said softly, "but even strong people need help sometimes. That does not make them weak. It makes them human." Sandra felt those words touch a deep place inside her. She did not know why his voice felt so safe. Maybe it was because he meant every word, or maybe it was because he did not look at her with pity. He looked at her with understanding. But this day was far from over. There were more truths waiting for Sandra, more moments that would push her heart in new directions, and more challenges that would test her strength in unexpected ways. She had no idea that the real turning point of her life had not even arrived yet. The station had returned to normal, but Sandra's heart had not. She stood in the quieter corner with Keanu beside her, and even though her breathing was steady now, her mind felt heavy. She had never imagined that one ordinary evening could turn into something so overwhelming. She kept replaying the moment when the barrier almost hit her, and the moment when Keanu caught it. The shock stayed in her chest like a tight knot. She touched her hands together to hide the tremble she still felt. Keanu watched her carefully. He did not rush her or force a conversation. He knew she needed time for her emotions to settle. The station lights flickered softly as trains passed by below them. Sandra listened to the distant sound of wheels on tracks, hoping the rhythm would calm the noise inside her mind. She took a slow breath, then another, but the weight inside her did not go away. She looked at Keanu and whispered, "I do not understand why everything feels so hard today." Keanu nodded gently. "Sometimes pressure builds slowly," he said, "and you do not notice it until it becomes too heavy." His voice was calm and steady, like a hand guiding someone out of darkness. Sandra lowered her eyes. She felt tears forming again, but she tried to hide them. She did not want him to see her like this. She had always been the person who stayed strong for everyone around her. She had never allowed anyone to see her break. Keanu seemed to sense this. "You do not have to hide anything," he said softly. "Not right now, not with me." Sandra's breath stopped for a moment. Those words touched a place inside her that she kept guarded for years. She looked up slowly, and her eyes glistened with unshed tears. For a moment she wanted to speak, to tell him everything, but her voice felt locked inside her throat. Before she could try again, another sudden sound filled the platform. Loud footsteps rushed down the stairs behind them. A man carrying a large backpack tripped on the last step and stumbled forward. The bag flew out of his hands and rolled across the floor, bouncing toward Sandra and Keanu. Sandra jumped back in fear, thinking something dangerous was happening again. Her heart raced as the bag slid to a stop near her feet. The man chased after it quickly, breathing hard. "Sorry," he said to them. "I lost balance. Did it hit you?" Keanu shook his head while Sandra tried to calm her heartbeat. The man apologized again and picked up his bag before walking away. It was a harmless moment, but to Sandra, it felt like another shock. Her nerves were still too sensitive, and even a simple accident felt like a threat. She leaned back against the wall, closing her eyes tightly. Keanu noticed her reaction and stepped closer. "You are still in fight mode," he said softly. "Your body is reacting to everything because you have not had a real pause yet." Sandra nodded with her eyes still closed. She felt exhausted, not just physically but emotionally. Her body was tired of pretending to be strong. Her mind was tired of holding everything in. When she opened her eyes, Keanu was still there, calm and steady. She looked at him with confusion. "Why are you helping me this much?" she asked quietly. "You do not even know what is wrong with me." Her voice shook with fear and vulnerability. She felt exposed saying those words, but she needed to understand. Keanu answered with complete honesty. "I do not need to know your whole story to help you," he said. "I can see you are hurting. That is enough." Sandra felt her chest tighten again, but this time it was not fear. It was something warm and gentle. Nobody had said something like that to her in a long time. She looked at him with soft eyes. "I do not want to be a burden," she whispered. Keanu shook his head slowly. "You are not a burden," he said. "You are a human being having a difficult day, that is all." His kindness was simple, but it was powerful. It made Sandra's eyes fill again, and she looked away quickly so he would not see. But he already understood. He never judged her tears. He treated them with quiet respect. For a brief moment, Sandra felt safe, truly safe. She let her body relax against the wall, and for the first time that day, she let her guard fall just a little. Keanu stayed beside her without saying anything, giving her space to breathe. She felt the tension in her shoulders slowly release. She felt her heartbeat settle into a calmer rhythm. But the night was not done testing her yet. Something deeper was hidden behind Sandra's breakdown. Something that she had been running from, something that would soon reveal itself in a way she did not expect. And Keanu, without knowing her full truth yet, was about to become part of a moment that would change everything inside her. The quiet corner of the station felt safer now, but Sandra's mind was still restless. Even though Keanu stood beside her like a calm shield, she felt something heavy pressing inside her chest. It was not just fear anymore. It was something deeper, something she had avoided for months. She kept her eyes on the floor, trying to stop the wave of emotion rising through her body. Keanu noticed the change in her breathing and stepped a little closer, careful not to overwhelm her. "Take your time," he said softly. The simple words gave her permission to feel what she had been trying to hide for so long. Silence settled between them, not awkward, but gentle and understanding. The distant sound of trains came and went like slow echoes in the background. Sandra leaned her head slightly back against the wall and closed her eyes, trying to gather whatever strength she had left. After a long moment, she opened her eyes again. They looked darker not from fear but from the weight of something she had been carrying alone. She whispered, "I am not like this usually. I do not break like this." Her voice was small, almost defeated. She felt embarrassed saying those words out loud. She had always been the one who stayed collected, the one who solved problems for everyone else. And now she was the one falling apart in front of someone she respected deeply. Keanu listened without interrupting her. He knew she needed to let her truth out, even if it came in small pieces. She continued softly, "I have been pretending everything is fine. I smile, I say I am okay, but inside I feel tired, really tired." Her hands trembled as she spoke, and she quickly hid them behind her back to avoid showing how weak she felt. She hated that she could not control her emotions today. Keanu took a slow breath before speaking. "You have been carrying too much alone," he said. "Nobody can hold everything without breaking a little." His tone was gentle, not heavy, but strong enough to reach the deepest part of her heart. Sandra looked at him, and a single tear escaped from the corner of her eye. She wiped it quickly, embarrassed again. I do not know how to stop feeling like this, she whispered. I do not know how to slow my mind. Keanu shook his head lightly. You do not need to know everything right now, you just need to know you are not alone in this moment. Those words were simple, but they wrapped around her like warmth. She felt her breath soften. Nobody had ever spoken to her with such calm respect when she was struggling. Most people told her to be strong. Most people told her to move on, but Keanu was telling her something different. He was telling her it was okay to be human. Just as she felt a small sense of relief, another unexpected sound cut through the platform. Two men nearby began arguing loudly. Their voices echoed sharply through the space. Sandra flinched instantly, her shoulders jumping at the sudden noise. Her nerves were still too fragile. Her heart began to race again. Her hands shook as she pressed them against her chest. Not again, she whispered under her breath. Keanu noticed the change before she even finished speaking. He stepped in front of her gently, blocking her view of the scene. He kept his back toward the noise, shielding her from anything that could make her panic worse. Look at me, he said softly. His tone pulled her attention away from the chaos behind him. You are safe. Focus on my voice. She tried to breathe as he spoke, but her breaths were fast and uneven. Keanu lifted his hand slowly, not touching her, but holding it near hers like a guide. Breathe in with me, he said softly. He inhaled slowly. She followed, struggling but trying her best. Now breathe out, she exhaled shakily. He repeated the rhythm again and again until her breathing matched his. The noise behind them faded as Sandra focused only on his calm presence. After a minute, her heartbeat eased again. She opened her eyes and saw Keanu still standing close, watching her with steady, patient eyes. She whispered, I am sorry, I do not know why this keeps happening. Keanu shook his head gently. Do not apologize, you are overwhelmed, not broken. The difference in those words mattered. It made Sandra feel seen. It made her feel understood in a way she had not felt in years. She lowered her head slightly, her voice trembling. I have been holding everything inside for too long, she said softly. I think today it all came out at once. Keanu nodded. That happens when life gives you no space to breathe. Your mind finally forces you to stop. Sandra felt another deep pull of emotion inside her chest. She wanted to tell him more. She wanted to explain the real reason she felt so lost today. But the words stayed trapped in her throat. She looked into his eyes with a quiet sadness and whispered, There is something else. Something I have not said. Keanu waited patiently. He did not push her. He simply let her know he was there, ready to listen. And at that moment, she decided she could not hide anymore. She was finally about to reveal the truth she had been carrying for months. A truth that would explain everything. A truth that would change what happens next. Sandra stood very still. The noise around them faded in her mind, and all she could hear was her own breath. She looked at Keanu with a softness that came only when someone finally stops pretending. Her voice was quiet when she spoke. The truth is, I have been scared for a long time, not of this place, not of people, but of myself. Keanu listened without moving. His calm presence made it easier for her to continue. I keep trying to be strong for everyone, she whispered. I do not say no. I do not rest. I carry every responsibility like it is my duty, and little by little it took pieces of me away. Her eyes filled with tears, but she did not hide them this time. Today my mind just could not hold anything anymore. It broke in front of everyone. Keanu shook his head softly. You did not break, he said gently. You reached your limit. That happens to every human being. His voice made her feel lighter, almost as if the weight inside her chest shifted. Sandra looked down at her hands. I kept telling myself to push through it. I kept saying I would be fine. I never told anyone how tired I really am. Her voice cracked. I felt ashamed to struggle. Keanu stepped nearer, still careful and respectful. You do not have to feel ashamed, he said. You have carried so much alone. It is natural to feel tired. It is natural to feel lost. A small tear rolled down her cheek. She let it fall without wiping it away. I do not know how to start healing, she whispered. Keanu gave a gentle breath. You start by not fighting yourself, he said. You start by letting someone stand with you instead of against you. Sandra looked into his eyes, surprised by the kindness she found there. It was not pity. It was respect. It was understanding. It was the kind of compassion that made her feel human again. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The world around them faded into soft background sound. Keanu then said quietly, You are not alone right now. Let this moment be your breathing space. Those words entered her heart like light in a dark room. She felt something shift inside her, something gentle and hopeful. But the night was not over yet. Outside the station, something unexpected waited for them, something that would turn this difficult evening into a memory Sandra would never forget. When they finally stepped out of the station, the night air felt cool and gentle. The noise, the fear, and the heavy pressure seemed to stay behind those concrete walls. Sandra breathed slowly, as if each breath was giving her strength back. Keanu walked beside her without rushing her, matching her pace with quiet respect. Every step felt like a small release from the weight she had carried all day. They reached a quieter street where the lights were soft and the world felt calmer. Sandra stopped walking and looked at the sky. Her eyes were tired, but they no longer held the same fear. Instead, they held a quiet sadness mixed with a slow return of hope. Keanu stood next to her, waiting for her to speak. After a long moment, Sandra whispered, "Thank you. You did not have to stay with me this long." Her voice was gentle, almost unsure of itself. Keanu answered softly, "Sometimes one moment can change someone's whole path. Nobody should face that moment alone." His voice carried no judgment, only truth. Sandra felt her throat tighten again, but this time it was not panic. It was gratitude, deep, honest gratitude. She looked at him with emotional eyes. "I thought losing control made me weak," she said, "but you treated me like I was still worth respect." Keanu gave a small, warm smile. "You never lost your worth," he said. "You were tired, you needed someone to stand with you. Everyone needs that sometimes." Those simple words entered her heart like a soft light. She felt something inside finally settle. The fear that had chased her all day loosened its grip. The hurt she had hidden for months began to fade. For the first time in a very long time, she felt human without feeling ashamed. She took a slow breath, deeper than any before. "I think tonight changed me," she whispered. "I think I will remember this for the rest of my life." Keanu nodded gently. "Then let it be the start of something better. Be kinder to yourself. Give yourself space to breathe. Your strength is still there." Sandra's eyes softened. She felt seen, respected, and understood in a way she had not experienced in years. She wiped the last tear from her cheek and said quietly, "You helped me find myself again." Keanu placed his hands in his pockets, his voice calm. "You did that, I only reminded you." They shared a quiet moment under the night sky. No rush, no noise, no fear, just two people who crossed paths at the exact moment one of them needed kindness the most. Sandra walked away from that night not feeling broken, but rebuilt. She carried Keanu's words like a gentle guide inside her heart. And every time life became heavy again, she remembered the moment someone stood beside her with pure respect and changed her life without asking for anything in return. That night, Sandra did not just find calm. She found her strength again,